calling to order the September 13th, 2022 school committee meeting. There's a little bit of an echo. We're good? Okay. Do we have any public comment this evening? No? Okay, skipping right into general business then. First item on the agenda, start of the school year update. Dr. Cummings and Kristen Gasper.
You have to wear the same shirt. All right, it is good to be back, first and foremost. Want to start by welcoming a tremendous addition to the GPS team. Frank Rothwell comes to us from Framingham. He was a longtime assistant principal at the high school level, a fantastic principal at Brophy Elementary, and he's now our director of HR. Jumped into the deep end of the pool August 15th, and for any district, that is the deepest of deep ends for HR. Kristen and Frank have worked incredibly well together, catching him up with every day. He's getting more and more traction, and putting Kristen out of the HR business, at least in part. So that's been a fantastic thing, just a wonderful, wonderful addition to Grafton. We couldn't be happier to have him with us. And I'll give Frank a chance just to say hi.
Good evening, and yeah, I'm very grateful to be here, and so far it's been a tremendous learning curve. Kristen is an excellent educator, and I'm glad that she's mentoring me and showing me the ropes of all the different systems used in Grafton, and I'm doing my best to learn as quickly as possible to relieve her of those HR duties as quickly as humanly possible. But I'm very grateful to be here. It's been a nice switch. So far, I've really enjoyed everyone I've gotten to meet and interact with.
All right, so we'll get going, and this is Kristen and I think it's our 13th year in Grafton, and it's the best start we've had, knock on wood. So we couldn't be more excited about it. Not only is the start gone fantastic, coming off of obviously a few tough COVID years has probably added to the excitement of it all, but it's just been fantastic. So we want to welcome to the team a bunch of different people. We'll talk a little bit about the different professional positions that we hired for, some that I want to make sure we touch on. Obviously, Frank as the director of HR. Melissa Wallace is our new South Grafton Elementary School principal, taking over, filling some very large shoes left by Doreen Parker after 30 plus years in Grafton. But she's doing a fantastic job and just loves every second of being the SGES principal, which is great. Deb Goodwill is the new assistant principal at the high school. Again, has started off beautifully, connected with a lot of students already, doing a lot of programs. She's got a very strong background in SEL, and we're already starting to see that take root at the high school, which is great. Christine Martellio is over at GMS, replacing Tim Fouth, and again has done a fantastic job, off to a wonderful start. And last but not least, I haven't met her in person yet, but Adrienne Chomes is our new school committee secretary. Like Debney, she'll be taking all the meeting notes from home, I'm suspecting, but doing it all remotely. Maybe at some point we'll get a chance to meet her. She does live in the Central Mass area, but we couldn't be happier to have her on board.
So I think this is my cue. I think, as Jay said, this has probably been our smoothest start to the school year. I always am worried about saying that because I don't know what I'm sending out to the universe, but I hope that it continues to be a smooth school year and a great one. I just want to take a few minutes to thank those behind-the-scenes workers. Down at the bottom right corner, that's our tech team, and it was an overwhelming number to me when Neil said they prepared and deployed 466 student devices this summer. That was between the iPads and the Chromebooks. That's just amazing to me. And that's not to mention the new phone systems that went in, the computer cleans in the classroom and moving those around, setting everybody up for their new accounts, our new staff. They've done tremendous work. And I think, like Jay said, I mean, it's been a great start, and So just a thank you to the tech team, our custodians and our maintenance staff. They prepared our buildings so that kids were able to just walk right in and start learning on day one. Our human resources, so Frank, Marita Steinmetz, Lynn Dolson, just onboarding the sheer number of new staff that we have. Our accounts payable between Rose Page and Anita Patel, getting all of our supplies into classrooms. Our nurses, just all the sheer number of looking at student records, making sure kids are ready to start in the schools, and then, of course, our teachers and our paras and our administrators. So I just want to thank them.
Yeah.
Every year, I feel like we do this very similar update. We have a number of returning staff, which was great. It was great to see them all back in schools. We had a few late retirees this summer. We had Lois Rossiter, art teacher at the high school, retire. Diane Rassicott was our family and consumer sciences teacher in the high school. And then Elena Jamie is retiring. She's an elementary teacher. She's retiring this week. So she's been over at Millbury Street Elementary School, and they're saying goodbye to her this week. So very exciting for them, sad for us, but we are excited to hear what they're going out to do. We had a number of teachers earn professional status. Those are our teachers that have worked 3 full years in Grafton, and they started their 4th year with us. So they were awarded their professional status. And then, of course, we had a number of staff exit. I know one of the questions is always, why are people leaving Grafton? And fortunately, it's because they've either relocated or they're going to a different position. Lots of paraprofessionals leaving to go and get teaching positions, which we were very excited to see that. And some of our nurse assistants going to take on other positions in schools and other medical fields. So that's our quick HR update for that. We, like all years, have had our new staff orientation. Neil Trahan and I had a tech orientation first. And so we gave devices, we gave all the access accounts, made sure everybody could get into those different access accounts, and then we let them loose in new staff orientation with our coordinators and our administrators so that they really could get into what is it like to be an educator in Grafton? What are the expectations? What curriculum? What language do we use with students? That sort of thing. Anything else? I can't think of anything else on the... You were there for...
Having experienced it on both sides, I would incredibly smooth, very impressive system to distribute all the different software, passwords, and training to get into everything and make sure everything works well. Just very impressed. I'm glad I'm a part of it now on the other side.
And Nicole McDonald and I also had a paraprofessional orientation for our new paraprofessionals so that they also had the first part of safety care training, which is the verbal de-escalation with our BCBA. So that was a nice addition to our orientation this year. And our new teacher workshops start this week with all of our non-professional licensed teachers. They'll go through a 15 PDP series of just different, how do we grade students? How do we communicate with parents and families? Things like that. It was almost like a normal year. I mean, Jay and I have been trying to get into schools almost every day, and look at our kids, they're back. Like, this is so exciting for us. I think just in the mornings too, talking to students as they cross, they're just glad to be back in school and have some normalcy.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I don't know what else to add other than that kind of feeling you get on the first or second day it's still going strong like this morning. So that's what we want. Hopefully it keeps up. So for the next 4 slides, we're happy to answer questions or speak to any of it, but wanted to go back to last year when we had talked about the strategic plan, trying to simplify that with those 4 different strands, the first being instruction, and being true to our word from a year ago that we would continually be focused on that, not only just day-to-day operations, but in school committee meetings too. So with instruction, Kristen's talked about how we've already been doing a ton of summer work. A lot of people think that the district comes to a standstill. I get so many questions like, you must have so much free time in the summer. It must be awesome. I did have a nice summer, but we're constantly at it between ESY, PD work, et cetera. Our pre-K through 6 and 7-12 directors, those two positions have been overseeing a ton of instructional work over the summer, which has led beautifully into the start of the school year. And that's just what we want. Without that work, I've been in districts where the work ramps up in September, so by the time you really get to it, you're looking at November. That's not going to be the case this year, and that's fantastic. So that goes for the coordinators, the specialists. We've already been holding staff and department and grade level meetings connected to the work that we're doing on instruction. We've planned out our PD days, exactly what we're going to work on at the different levels for the PD days. We've never set that with so much detail so early. So that's a great thing for us. On top of that, we'll have choice professional development throughout the year so that outside of those set times that we have, if people are looking for PDPs, credits, what have you, you can opt into anything that's interest-based that you want to learn more about. We talked a lot last year about that STAR assessment in math and literacy. That will start up in September. And then it's going to just roll all year with a number of different assessments taking place throughout the school year, and that's simply going to continue. The data tool that we have tied to the STAR assessment is Schoolzilla, and we've already begun training for teachers on how to utilize that. So it's one thing to get data, but what are we doing with it once we have it? In terms of well-being, at GMS, they've ramped up that focus on mindfulness. We've been at GMS after traffic duty. We go over and walk through GMS and GHS every single morning. They have a portion of the morning dedicated to mindfulness. The work that Roseanne's done in that area is really impressive. It was impressive last year, and I think she's going to take it to another level this year. It certainly ties in very well to that One Grafton program that they've been running and developing. At GMS and GHS, they're focusing on universal design of learning, SEL, and that data that we talked about. Same at elementary. We're going to really focus on targeted instruction early on at the elementary level. We've certainly been doing it, but that's something that we want to kind of circle back to based on the needs that we anticipate seeing in our students. Mentioned last year that we've doubled the partnership hours that we have with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services. That's been fantastic for us in terms of those wraparound services that we talk about. That wellness committee that existed pre-COVID, we're starting that up again in the fall. That will continue going forward, and we'll meet at least quarterly, if not more often. Do you want to talk about?
Sure. We really have committed to our safety care training, and we have a systematic plan for all of our staff to have the verbal de-escalation piece of the training, and then those staff that need the physical management piece will be either have already been or will be trained. But I'm really excited about that verbal de-escalation piece because I think it's really important for all adults to know what are some things that they're saying to students that might actually trigger a behavior as opposed to de-escalate a behavior. And so that, I'm really excited to have Nicole McDonald and our BCBAs work on that. So, in a systematic fashion. And then we also have that continued focus on the behavior learning support that we really have noticed we knew was missing a little bit. We needed to strengthen that up, and then COVID really magnified that. And so we've put into place, how are we supporting our students with their behavior learning needs, and how do we support our staff with handling students that have those behavior learning support needs.
And as we just quickly run through these strands, you'll see when we get to the future agenda component of the meeting, we're trying to take all of these pieces that we're quickly kind of of glossing over in a quick way tonight and dive into them in more depth, and you'll see them listed out. Connection out of the 4, that's probably, I know we're doing this incredibly well day to day. We were saying today that out of the 4, that's probably the one that we've taken the least amount of proactive action at this point, being a few weeks into school, get up and running. I think we're doing really well with everything. But once, I would guess in the next month, we're going to really be able to ramp this up. We've certainly connected with our staff about the need now more than ever, and it was always incredibly important to connect with students as they return from 2 very challenging years. So we've got a GPS update ready to go. We've been focusing on SEL across all grade levels, as we touched on a moment ago. We're looking to ramp up our volunteer base, and that's certainly already starting to take hold, which is wonderful. And as the year unfolds, we're going to have a lot of school-based community events that both involve families and that are just school-based. I sent you a video of like the opening activities at South Grafton. It was one little clip, but we haven't seen that for a few years. So just that type of thing is happening across the board, and it's been fantastic.
And we even had a volunteer for Grafton High School. A parent came in to do a Cory check for Grafton High School volunteers. So
Yeah.
it really kind of made it real for us, that we're
Yep.
back.
Yep. And then lastly, infrastructure. Kristen's been taking the lead on developing that professional development. We're working closely with Grafton Police Department on safety training. It's, of course, things that we've done in the past, but we get to kind of go back to what we were doing pre-COVID. I've talked about building projects. I'll circle back to that in a few slides. But we've done more building projects this summer than we've done in the last, is probably 7 or 8 years combined. It's kind of amazing. Increased tech access. You had a great point on this, and I can't remember what it was, Kristen. Do you remember? Well, trust me when I say we've had increased technology access.
Yes, our fifth grade students now have the Chromebooks. It's a one-to-one scenario. In 5th grade, the Chromebooks do not go home with the students, but they have access in the classroom. 6th grade through 12th is one-to-one. And then I think the access points in terms of Wi-Fi has been increased.
Yeah, those increased. I forget that number, but I do remember the number now. Now it was K4, so essentially, let's say 5th grade's one-to-one. They are at school. K through 4, there were just shy of 800 devices accessible to our students at all times, in carts, and not like, you have to go and do tech in the lab. These were all mobile devices that are really well supported. So that, I forget the exact number, but it was like 780. And then ClearGov, we've talked about that a lot last year. Kind of looking forward to really utilizing that this year. I'm still nervous about how it's all going to work, and I still want a physical book, but I'll make it all happen. But the use of ClearGov should help us maintain a budget that is as transparent as it could literally possibly be. And I think we were close to there before. So if this takes us to the next level, I think it's going to be great. All right, any questions so far?
Questions?
All right. So for projects, I hope none of this surprises you, but I hope for the community they can get a sense of all the work that we've done with the funding that we've been thrilled to secure for all of these projects. So Handicapped Access, we've been addressing that. Last year we had an audit or an assessment of our ADA compliance. Most of that work is going to be built into the capital plan for FY24 and beyond. We did do some large projects. The playground at South Grafton Elementary School is now fully handicapped accessible, which is fantastic. You'll see in front of Millbury Street Elementary School, where before you can only park at the 2 ends. So if you were in a wheelchair or had any kind of challenge in getting to the front doors, it was a challenge. So we now have a cutout and we have handicap parking. When they designed the lower fields, like the 2 turf fields, they didn't put any handicap parking down there. We built handicap parking, so that went in the summer. A lot of our walkways, especially the one cutting through, all the way through the high school parking lot, was repaired. So that was great. And over at North Grafton Elementary School, their front walkway was it was a hazard. And they repaired it this summer. It looks fantastic. GMS, we did a lot of interior painting, fixed numerous windows. We're in the process of finishing bathroom modifications that included increased access, and then the auditorium, which is pictured here. If you haven't, has anybody been in it? It looks radically different. It sounds different. Peter Singley, you cannot walk by there where he doesn't tell you that it sounds different. He's told me, I think, every day.
Yes, me too.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's
Is he happy with the sound? Or?
Thrilled.
Loves it.
Oh, okay.
everything's, yeah, he's
Yeah.
thrilled. I think he forgets that he tells me every day. But he's thrilled. Those 2 music rooms, we had music rooms that when they were built, 40, 50 years ago at North Grafton and South Grafton. I'm sure at the time it was state of the art and awesome, but they had built in these risers, which was great if you had elementary chorus, but we don't have K1 or pre-K through 1 chorus. So they were rooms that didn't serve much of a function. So anyhow, we took the risers out. They look fantastic, both rooms. And then playground at South Grafton is not totally complete, but it's close. It's usable. We're waiting a theme throughout that won't be a surprise to you, but was supply chain issues. We actually did better than I thought we would, but some of the pieces just aren't in yet. In terms of ongoing projects, these are all in process, but they're just not done. Last year, we received a grant with the assistance of Representative Meridian, and we received monies to increase some of our safety equipment. And we had, when you go into the school, we have swipe access for staff to go in and out with the code pad, but we only had like the main doors, which is lovely if you're only using the main door. But if you're using an exterior door for gym class or for recess or what have you, that's when somebody ends up putting a peg in there, and then your whole safety system is out the window. So they're in the process of installing the additional access points now. We're in the process of moving the video system at the new school is actually, we're almost a decade old. They go to servers, and the servers are starting to fail. We're okay right now, we're piecing it together, but we need to go cloud-based. So we started that process to get through the year, and that's gonna be part of the discussion in capital. Thresholds and bathrooms at GMS, both are in process, we're waiting on tile in both cases. Grafton Middle School HVAC, we finally got the contract completed in, I guess it was early August. We held a kickoff meeting in late August. They are going to seal that building envelope in the coming year, which sounds pretty easy, but it's actually a good deal of work. And they've already ordered everything. There's a 44-week wait on supplies. But we will be ready to go with literally the day after school ends. We will start up that project and be done by the start of school in the fall of '23.
Can I just ask a quick question
course you
about the
can.
envelope?
Yep.
So will the folks in the building notice a difference from that operation? Or is it just a first, like step 1 is seal the envelope, step 2 is?
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty, it's about as drafty a building as you can find.
That was
so
what I was
hope
wondering.
They would. I don't think for a second they're going to be, taking off sweatshirts and like, this is awesome. I just doubt it. But it might happen.
Okay,
Maybe they won't be wearing their coats.
that's what I
all
was
day.
thinking.
Yeah, well, if
That-
any of those
small
11
step.
units break,
Yeah.
then it's coat time. I mean, with any modern system, if you have 11 units, 2 of them break, you're going to just redistribute. We can't redistribute. There is none of that. So,
Coats and
on wood,
shorts.
last winter was really good. 2 winters ago was horrendous for those units. So we need one more winter out of them. Unanticipated project, this is a big one, probably 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, it was sometime in the first week of school, I guess. The boiler at North Street Elementary School, this beauty, it's been hanging on for a few years, officially died. We lucked out in a lot of ways. It wasn't fortunate, obviously it's not great that it died, but it gave us a fighting chance of getting a new one before heating season starts. If this happens in the middle of the winter, it's a challenge. We totally lucked out in the fact that we have Anita, who is an absolute bulldog. She found a replacement boiler that was ordered for a project, and it was the wrong size. It didn't fit. So we just lucked out that we have it, we've secured it, we've purchased it. Now, it's about $300,000 for the boiler with installation. So we obviously struggled with, okay, how do we pay for that? So we worked, Anita and I worked with Evan Broussard, the town administrator. When he had set monies aside, ARPA monies, he put as a placeholder 1.5 million. So he put that in as 1.5 million. At the same time, we had applied for 2 grants that were connected with HVAC systems. And they totaled it was 298,000 in total. And we were able to secure those. So while it's 1.5 million that was approved that we've gotten ARPA monies, we know it's 100% that we've got 2 grants for 300,000. But he just hadn't, in the process, taken those off the books, if you will. So what we're going to do is keep that 1.5 million as that placeholder for ARPA. ARPA still needs, the committee meets, I think, Monday. It needs to approve it. It does need to go before the select board to approve it. So far, I think he connected with select board members unofficially, and with ARPA members, and universally, everybody seems supportive of that idea. So if everything goes according to plan, we'll be able to use those earmarked ARPA funds for this cost. And we will install it within the next 3 weeks and beat the October 17th heating season deadline. Transportation, I just wanted to say we're off to a great start with transportation. Again, I want to thank Anita, Lynn Leofanti. They work all day from pretty much August 1st and they're still working on it, helping people process issues, bus stop location, you name it, they deal with it. I've received probably 12 emails about and you've probably heard of this, like Find My Bus type of apps. I think it was covered in the Telegram and Gazette, and Worcester adopted it. Generally, I'm not an expert on this, but I know probably more than most about it. The great majority of districts that use it at this time are the larger districts, but those larger districts have staff who can manage it. We have Anita, and Anita's great, but it's one person, and we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of stops every single day. I don't know of, I'm sure they exist, and I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'll put together a little report on this. Off the top of my head, in doing a little research, I couldn't find any smaller districts that do it, but that's why. Right now, bus 7, especially in the winter, bus 7 doesn't start, and they have to switch with an alternate bus. People could have the app and think, my bus isn't coming, it's still in the lot. There are a lot of challenges with it. It's not all looking at like the Amazon driver and it's just tried and true. And believe me, they have a team that works on that.
I've used it. That's exactly true.
It is, okay.
It happens all the time.
And that's with a
more
team.
upset.
So, right. But we're going to do our due diligence and take a look at it. Kevin Carney instituted numbered spaces at GHS. So far, that's going very well. He'll be quick to tell you that. Kristen and I want to see what happens in the winter, but so far the kids are as happy as can be. Our high schoolers, I'm going to jinx it totally, easily the best in 13 years about getting to school on time. It's shocking. Today we were done. I think it's me. Kristen doesn't, but we were done at 7:24. That never happened. It's wild. So that's been awesome. And somebody today emailed me wondering about, you may, I don't know where it was covered, probably on Facebook, that the town is going to be engaging in some sidewalk installation near Millbury Street Elementary School. This goes back 4 years. It was like a year or two before COVID that we partnered, the school district, with the highway department and applied for a Safe Routes to School grant. And we put in for it, and we got it, and those wheels are slow anyhow, and then COVID hit. I didn't know if it was even going to go through. But sure enough, it cranked up again this summer, and there's a very large-scale insulation of sidewalks that's going to happen all around Millbury Street Elementary School, which is a fantastic thing. Somebody said, oh, we have need for sidewalks somewhere else. Like, that's lovely, but it's for schools. So we're a little limited. That was the one. They came out and looked at all of our different schools, and they cited that as the best. And I agree. So they're going to work on that, but just so you have the context. And then just real quickly, our last three things. Athletics is off to a fantastic start. Like everything else we've said, like super high energy, it's awesome. The equity audit. I want to thank Evan Broussard and William Blake, the assistant town administrator. We went out to bid with an RFP for the equity audit over the summer. We received those bids, went through that process. We've selected a provider. William was working on entering into a contract with that provider. That hasn't been finalized, so I don't just want to share that yet, but he actually came up to see me today when I was in the meeting, but I think that's what it was about. So I expect at the next meeting I'll be able to go through that with the committee, and by that time I should have a sense of timeline. I'll have a lot more information and present on that. And last thing, just wanted to recognize Kidsborough. That's our new before and after school daycare provider, and they've been just killing it, just doing awesome. I don't know if you've received feedback, but everything that we've encountered has been terrific. Their summer program really stood out, kind of like Pete Singley telling me every day about the sound in the auditorium. You couldn't go to North Street Elementary without Steve Wiltshire telling you how during the summer they were doing real engaging instructional activities with kids. You don't hear that too often from summer providers, or not often enough anyhow. So that's it. Sorry to talk your ear off, but we're definitely excited about the start of the school year.
All right, great, well done. Any questions? No? No questions at all? Good stuff.
Frank,
it's
they
great.
always have questions.
Excellent start.
A little bit like being on this end of a fire hose, so
Well, yeah, sorry.
I wrote some things down, but I really don't, I got nothing.
Yeah, we did caution ourselves today. I said, we're going to give them too much because we've been
It's exciting.
living the fire hose
Don't
for
worry,
a while.
don't worry about jinxing yourself. That's not gonna happen. It's good.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to be great. And
Yeah.
just-
I just love seeing
better.
the high school and middle school students in the morning. They're ready for school. It's great. They walk slower as the week goes on.
By Friday, they're like.
Understandable. All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. So, the next item on the agenda is a superintendent goals discussion. We're going to be skipping that tonight. And then following that, we are going to talk about nomination of a delegate for the MASC conference. We need to appoint a delegate from among this membership to attend that conference and to vote on officers, any resolutions that might get proposed. Amy and Laura, I know you've served as a delegate before. Do you want to add anything, any color to your experience?
Well, the year that I did it, it was over Zoom, and it was no joke, a 5-hour meeting. So it was not the normal experience, but basically, we will discuss as a committee any resolutions, decide what Grafton School Committee's ruling is on it, and then the delegate votes according to the will of the committee. There may be amendments and things made on the floor that may change, and at that point, the delegate just has to do their best to represent what they think. is best for us. Laura, you've done it twice?
I've only done it once.
Oh,
I
once.
got to do it in person, and it was definitely not 5 hours, thank God. Because it was Saturday morning after the end of a long conference, and we had the leadership dinner the Friday night, so it was early Saturday morning. But it was, it's interesting, I would say, if you enjoy town meeting, that sort of thing. And this time it's on the Wednesday, I believe, so it's early on in the conference, so it depends on when you can get there.
Yeah.
And I will say that I am happy to not do it, so. I mean, I did enjoy it, but I'd love for, I'll take myself out of the running.
You've served your,
I've served my
your
duty.
time.
And I'm happy to, unless nobody else wants it, but.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it if no one else wants it, but if someone wants to do it, I'm open to that too, if anyone's interested. And I'm willing to do it because I've not done it yet, but if someone else is
I will say,
chomping at
if
the
you
bit.
have never, you do miss some of the conference too, especially that it's on Wednesday, so if there were things that you wanted to go be at, you miss it. So that's one thing too, so.
So I guess for me, since this is my first year going to a conference and participating fully in the school committee, I'd rather be, do things slowly rather than just take everything on at the same time. So I don't have any interest.
Similar,
Okay.
coming from a similar place, I'd rather wait, I think.
So we're all going, all 5 of us?
I'm actually not able to.
You're not able to
go
go. No, I
Because
understand.
of a work commitment.
I
But you're
signed
not-
up, yep.
So 4 of the 5 are going? Cool. I think, I nominate Liz.
Second.
All right. I'll accept that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Madam
right.
Chair, we also need an
Yes.
alternate voting designee. I've, in the past,
Yeah.
usually put the chair, but that would be silly. So for the alternate nominee, I nominate Amy Marr.
So she can experience it in
She
person.
likes
next
it.
time.
Amy, what do you say? Do you accept that
It has to be
nomination?
seconded, I'm
I
sorry.
second that nomination.
Yeah, I'll accept it. Because you're going to not get sick and you're going to be fine.
I mean, if worse keep that, yeah. It'll be fine. It's
It'll be
fun.
fine.
It was really fun.
I actually did enjoy it. I did enjoy it.
I did like
Even though
it.
it was
I
5
just-
hours.
Yeah, it
that
will
one.
not be 5 hours.
No.
It's like an hour.
And we don't have to accept all nominations.
Yeah.
but Go ahead. Okay, so the nomination was made and seconded. All those in favor? All right.
Aye.
Amy is our
you
alternate.
for
Thank you
your
very much,
service.
Amy.
Both are amazing.
All right, so the next item, I'll let Dr. Cummings introduce this. We have a, sorry? We have a proposed town meeting warrant article that we need to look at and vote tonight because we are under deadline to get this on the warrant before the next town meeting.
Yep. As you know, we are moving our 18 to 22 school to work program from the high school offsite. With that, Anita did due diligence, reached out as to does anything need to change in terms of our structure of accounts, et cetera. And what she found out was that we need a revolving account dedicated to that offsite program. And that simply is going to be used. Out of that, we will pay things unique to that program, which would include primarily utilities on a month. We've got our lease, we've got electricity, whatever. So that would be what's paid out. We would bring into that tuition that we have. And I'm happy to report we already have 2 new students tuitioning into that program. So that was awfully quick. And we have the capacity for more. And there is no doubt in my mind that once we get going, we're going to bring in more money. And by law, we're capped at maintaining $200,000 at all, a cap of $200,000. So we couldn't just let that fill up and it gets to $500,000. So all revolving accounts have a cap, and for this one, it's $200,000. So in my mind, pretty straightforward.
Okay.
But I can answer any questions if you have them.
Or I can entertain a motion to approve the warrant article to establish a revolving account for the 18 to 22 school to work program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. All right, thank you, Jay. Okay, next we have future agenda and schedule planning. You have the agenda in front of you.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The, one of the handouts, not in the book, is the most updated one.
Okay.
Yep.
Everybody have that? Yes. All right, good. So, just let me know if anyone sees any additions, changes that you think we should make to upcoming agenda. You can always email me later and let me know before the meeting. Just give me a few days to make changes. Okay.
Looks nice.
All right, we'll move on then.
Liz.
All right. Next, we need to approve some minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the June 14th, 2022 school committee meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous. And next, we have financial report, just the warrant, right?
Correct.
So can I have a motion to approve the warrant dated September 9th, 2022, in the amount of $547,297.74?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any questions about the warrant? All right. Seeing none, go for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. And next, the fiscal year '23 budget process review. Do we have a report on that?
Yep, so that is, we're gonna have to put that off until the next meeting. What we're waiting on is for the town administrator to set the deadlines basically for the town, and then we go off of those timelines. Our process is still gonna be largely the same, but obviously, we don't know when the budget's due, so we can't back into it. I thought he might even have it today, so we'll certainly have that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Do you have a date for the capital summit yet?
Good question. I did see an email
Okay.
yesterday, and I said yes to it.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell you. I want to say October 5th, but don't hold me on that.
Okay. So next month.
I'll find out.
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
thank you.
it was early October.
Okay. Next, policy. So we have two policies on the agenda, but we're going to skip over the first one tonight. The policy committee, we met last week. We went through this policy, and we need some more information to finalize that. You'll see it in your packet, but it's a little, the changes that we were trying to make are simple, but when we dug into it, it got messy, and we needed some clarification that we just didn't get in time for this meeting tonight, so. We're gonna bring that one back. It's a small change. It doesn't really change anything. We're going from quarters to semesters, so we had to change some language. But then when we dug into the policy a little deeper, we needed some more clarification. So that's that one. Anything, were you gonna add something?
You got it. Yeah, I don't want any athletes especially to think that we're really making any substantial changes. It's just to catch up with changes we made last year.
Yeah.
And this wasn't the full, Jay sent out an updated, in our drive, updated packet. This was just the, piece that we were changing of a longer policy.
Yeah, so you have
So-
that. Yeah. Yeah, it's clarifying language that's pretty much
Yeah.
already in there. It's not changing any policies, really. All right, so then skipping to KHB, advertising in schools. So this one, we're introducing as a first reading. When the policy committee met, we proposed to replace our former policy with one that is the MASC policy with a few changes. And does someone else want to talk about the reason for this?
Yeah,
You wanna-
Jay, do you want to maybe give some
Yeah.
background? And then I have
Yep.
something.
So I brought this to the committee's attention, or asking for consideration. It came out of initially a few discussions I had with the athletic director, and the discussion was around scoreboards was what triggered it. We have that one main scoreboard on the main field, but we don't on the second field. We don't on the baseball field or the softball field. It's a little unusual. Ideally, we'd have additional ones. We do have a little one that we bring around on a cart, but it's a little silly, and if you're over 50, you can't read it. So that's what started it. He asked about, very naturally, I said, how do other districts do it? They're not just using, regular operating funds for a scoreboard that might be 10,000 plus. And he said they get sponsorship. So they go out for advertising. Generally, when you look around Central Mass anyhow, it's usually through big companies, most typically the big banks. Their Unibank jumps out. I've seen that one a bunch of times. You put the Unibank placard up there and you've got a big scoreboard. Usually for the big companies, they'll pay for the entire scoreboard, but you do have to pay thousands. It could be $7,000 to $10,000 to actually install it, but that's kind of the deal. So he brought that up. I said, we have existing policy that would prohibit that. He asked, would the school committee be willing to take a look at it? I said, I don't know, but we can certainly have that discussion. So that was the basic story. That corresponded with the reality that our booster club for athletics, which has done fantastic things for Grafton for decades, looks like it's going to be dissolving after this year. Their main, I don't know what percentage, but I had the sense like 95%, 90% at least of the monies they bring in were generated from the bingo night at Seven Hills. You may have heard of it. It's just, they work it and they bring in money, and it was just super predictable and great for us. With COVID, Seven Hills stopped running the bingo nights, and they've decided post-COVID that they're not going to start them up again. And the longtime leader of the president of the Booster Club is moving to Florida and is not planning on continuing. So things may change, but right now we just don't foresee having any monies booster-wise. So the obvious thing to discuss would be advertising, if there's any comfort level in there.
Do you know how much money the Booster Club raised every year?
I don't want to even guess.
Okay.
Okay. I will guess. I thought it was maybe 8 to 10,000.
Okay.
That sounds close.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
And have they
think so.
tried to get someone to take over it? And it's just,
I
it
don't
hasn't?
know. I
Okay.
can't, knowing what I know of that group, I'd be very surprised if they did. There's a lot of pride in that group, and they've done fantastic things. It seemed, and again, this was secondhand, that the straw that broke the camel's back was not having that revenue generation that they could count on.
So I'll add one more thing, and then I'll open it up to Laura and then run questions. But one of the things that this policy does, it gives the school committee discretion to allow advertising. So it just opens the door a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is all going to happen, but we can take a look at it. Laura, where are you going?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think, for me, I'm in favor of it. I think we're kind of looking away at free money. I think we should be moving away on depending on our parents to raise a ton of money to have to support things that possibly we should be providing. If you're on a team that's not the football team, or not, you should be having some that goes along with some of our values and equity. I just to be transparent, I had raised some concerns in our meeting about who was advertising. I was very worried that just some company, maybe it's Laura Often's Donuts, and then Laura Often the next day says something ridiculous on social media, and half the town wants to ban my donuts, and then we have my picture and my name on the scoreboard, which is a great idea. And I really was concerned about that. I like the kind of speaking with the committee, Liz and Kristen kind of walked me through on how we could manage that, which is bringing it to us, and then talking to Jay a little bit more, and he's like, it's mostly big banks, like, you know, you're probably not gonna get Laura's Donuts. So that was my concern, but I also think this is an opportunity to get something paid for that's not in our budget, and so I'm very comfortable with it.
Yeah. And I do think, if any of these opportunities come up, part of the reason that we put some of this language in here, that was in addition to what the MASC policy said, was just that we wanted to have that discretion. We wanted to make sure that any advertisers, line with, and we linked it to the language in policy AD, foundations, the district's foundations and guiding beliefs. And we'll have to do our diligence. We'll have to, if this is mostly large banks, usually those aren't too worrisome, but we'll have to do our diligence on any potential advertisers and see who they are, see what, what business they're in, and all that, and cross our fingers too. Hope that they are nice, and we don't have to worry about anything going forward.
So I just had a question, I think you answered it, that whatever, if this were to happen, whatever advertisement or whatever company came to us, we would do our own research before approving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I have one other addition. I think we should add language just excluding program ads and what else has ads?
They actually,
Or is it in there?
I think you,
From requiring our
the
consent.
policy subcommittee put the part, this will not, however, prevent advertising.
right,
in
good.
Student, which
Okay.
I think captures.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want like everything coming to us because that's a little ridiculous. But something big.
Yeah,
it would
it would be big.
But yeah, and I drove by Nipmunk yesterday. They have like ads all over. Like it's certainly not. We're not.
Oh,
the-
a
It's
lot
done.
of districts go like wild
Yeah.
with it. I think it was Shepherd Hill I went to for track, and they have a giant Dunkin' Donuts thing on the turf, like gigantic, like 40 yards. It seemed like 40 yards.
It makes sense.
So in general, I agree with this policy. I guess where I pause is the school committee being the arbiter. It seems like it's operational, and our job is to set policy. And I feel like the actual decision-making about who gets to advertise, as much as I, would love to be involved in that, that feels operational to me. It feels like decisions that the principals and the athletic director ought to be making, and not this committee. We wouldn't approve, for example, ads in the yearbook. I know that this policy explicitly exempts that. But we've never had a concern about, some racist advertising in the yearbook. We don't moderate that. That's handled by the faculty advisor for that publication and the students involved in that activity. So if it is going to be us, I think we need to have a procedure, and we need to have an appeal process, just like we do for the library books, so that parents who want to lodge a complaint have a mechanism by which they do that.
That's a good point. So I would just say we put it to the superintendent. I think we were just thinking that is a good point, and I had actually thought about that similarly. So I would probably just say it's up to the superintendent for something that large, or the principal. I don't know.
So I wonder if there's, sorry, I'm trying to think through this. I wonder if there's a way to allow us the opportunity to consent without being specific to, or being specific to the advertiser.
Is it because it's a certain amount of money? Like it's over.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I understand about like the yearbook and all that, but this seems like a little bigger than.
Like we have naming, if somebody wants to name a school, that comes to us. So there is some.
Yeah, once you hit,
Right.
I think the magic numbers generally are typically $10,000 in
$10,000.
value. Like, it has to go to the committee. Somebody gifts us, I don't know, a $10,000 supercomputer. It would actually have to be accepted. Of course, you're going to say yes, but probably. So it's usually ceremonial, but that is.
So the original language does say under guidelines or regulations that it being the school committee may approve. No, you
I
had
had
it, it's
it.
just crossed out.
Oh,
The original MASC language. So we kind of took it a different direction. We were talking about it originally, but, maybe we do that. Maybe we, I don't know. Do we just, grant it? I guess we have two options. We could grant permission now in this policy and then have a separate policy that we develop that provides guidelines for these advertisements, or we approve we give ourselves permission to approve the policy without, I don't know, is there some way of taking the advertiser out of the equation, and it's just, we have a sponsor for a scoreboard, they want to put in a new scoreboard, do you approve? And maybe we don't decide yes or no, yes, we're gonna choose this person, but we are rejecting another entity, but yes, we would love to have a commercial sponsored scoreboard.
For
I
today.
think Leora had her hand up first.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we have this problem where we have 18 companies trying to buy us scoreboards and we have to choose 3 or something. That would be delightful. I think where you were going, Liz, I kind of put my hand down. I think, yes, tonight, I think we can say, in general, we approve of this process, right? Without having to get into, we're approving advertisers, we're not approving advertisers. I think the general guideline of a donation of X amount comes for a vote before us, probably just makes sense, but I don't know that we have to get into those specifics in this policy today.
I agree, and it doesn't, I'm sorry, you and somebody had
Yeah,
their hand up.
is it Amy?
So I guess I wasn't thinking about it just being scoreboards,
Fair.
which that's a limited number, right? I was thinking, we approve this policy, and suddenly every other meeting, we're approving this, Dunkin' Donuts to put a sign up on the fence around the track, and then, something else down at the baseball field. Like, if we're gonna limit it to scoreboards, then I think we should probably say that and vote on that. And say, this is where you're allowed to advertise right now per the school committee, and if you wanna, if the athletic department wants to allow more advertising, then we address that as it comes. I have no problem with the scoreboards. I just don't want to be having public hearings or whatnot to approve this and that and the other thing.
I just don't think the size and scope to it is very different from yearbook ads or
No, I know.
program ads. I
Which
hope-
we've already excluded, but sorry.
Yeah,
I just-
that's what I'm saying. It's not at all.
I just feel very strongly about the division of labor and the fact that we're here for this purpose and we're not here to dictate procedure. So that's kind of where I'm struggling, that this seems procedural to me. And I feel like we should trust our staff to make good decisions.
I guess my question is, where in this policy does it say that I think we commented, Liz and I were just saying, because that's what came up, but maybe I might be missing it, and I could be, is where does it say the school committee has to approve it, besides in our conversation? That being said, we'll take sponsorships for the committee as well.
The line under the school committee may in its sole discretion grant permission for
Yeah,
advertising.
but that means we're granting permission. Right now, we're saying we grant permission from this policy. We're not saying we're going to X out yes or no if somebody is agreeing. The way I interpret this, and maybe if that's the case that not everybody interprets it the same difference, we can go back and try to clean it up in a policy meeting. But to me, this is now the policy saying, yep, the school committee says we can entertain advertising. Before, we were saying we wouldn't at all entertain, and now this policy's saying, yep, you can advertise. And I definitely trust our leaders to come in. I really don't want to be involved in it. I just was concerned, because you know how life works, where all of a sudden somebody makes a tweet, and I'm, queen of that. So I just want to make sure that, we are not, like in the 70s, we would have had Marlboro,
Right.
we don't want them on promoting on our schools, right? Or I don't. So I think it doesn't say the school committee has to approve who is advertising.
I think
So-
that phrase, sorry.
No, no, no,
I think
go
the
ahead.
phrase "in its sole discretion" implies to me that we'll be using our discretion for each individual.
So
that's how I
I say
read it.
we take it out.
Okay, we can take that out.
What is the relationship between the stuff on the top and the stuff on the bottom?
That's the old policy.
So this is the old
We
policy,
want to
and we're
replace
replacing it with just that.
MASC,
Okay.
Yeah.
and there was
Yeah.
a couple of additional things that the policy committee wanted to add to the MASC policy. I will also say this is MASC vetted by their, you know,
Right.
they have people that this is their full-time job,
Right.
doing educational policy,
Yep.
so. So maybe that's,
So I guess I want to make sure we're aligned on on the reading of this and the timing of permission. So the way this reads now, as I've changed it, the school committee may grant permission. So they still have to come and ask us permission for advertising. Doesn't necessarily mean we're approving the advertiser, but just the commercial product or service.
Okay.
And I want to make sure we're all aligned on that. And versus granting permission within this policy in language that would say something like, the school committee shall permit or shall allow advertising of school products. That would mean we don't get any more say at all. They can decide everything.
I think maybe, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think maybe for now, we start with this, with the May. If Kevin gets more things, like, hey, somebody wants to sponsor, he'll shoot an email to Jay. Jay will put it, we'll put it on an agenda. We'll say, yep, we approve, we're gonna now sell off our school, our, uniforms. They'll be sponsored by whatever. And we take it a little bit step by step, just for now, because this is new. And then if we're not making we're just, this is agreeing, this is a policy that MASC has granted, that the school committee may grant permission. I think it's a little bit of a slippery slope where it's not getting in the way of the operations of the high school. They can operate whether or not they have names on the back of their jerseys or not. We're just trying to guide the values and principles of our school, that, you know, maybe our kids aren't all for sale, right? So I think for now, we start with this. If it's getting too much and we're finding like where our hands are where we shouldn't be, we'll change it.
Go back and get more specific if we have to.
Yeah.
Comfortable with that.
And this is only a first reading again, so we're
Yeah.
gonna bring it back in 2 weeks, so you have time to think about it and send us with any questions.
Any other points? Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to accept this as a first reading.
I move to accept KHB advertising in the schools as a first reading.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It was a tricky one.
Yeah.
It was a tricky meeting.
They're
I thought it
getting-
was gonna be like a super quick meeting. I was like, oh, we only have 2 policies. It's gonna be nothing. I'm gonna get to go to the gym after. And it was like a lengthy meeting where we made, where my head hurt after.
Yeah.
And now it hurts again. 'cause
And I
it's
kept,
so long.
kept thinking about it more.
And I
after.
didn't get to go to the gym because it was gonna close. Boom.
Any member reports? Laura?
Just quick member report over the summer. ARPA did continue to meet. We are still, we have a little bit of money left, 125K, I believe, that we're trying to spend on mental health programming or services. We don't really have any solid ideas. We reached out to a lot of other towns to see how they spent their money on mental health, and some people were able to hold apartments, and, you know, obviously we have a little bit of money, so we're reconvening on Monday. Hopefully we're gonna move forward with something we can present to the select board. And there were some other ideas that kind of have come up, so that's our goal, and hopefully if anybody knows of anything or has an idea or that they've come across, shoot them my way, because, yeah, it's hard to solve mental health with 125,000.
I was gonna say 125,000.
It's not a ton, but it's, you know, it's something, and we had some ideas, and I don't know, we're having a hard time, I think, but hopefully we're but we're excited and we're moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Tough problem. Is there a deadline that we have to spend this or figure out how we're spending it? What is that?
There is, I thought it was 2023, December, but they had urged towns to spend as quickly as possible, which Grafton's doing a great job.
Yeah, done great.
Everything's been approved, thanks to the select board, the schools, we got, we're hearing about our HVAC, we're very lucky, Grafton's done a good job. Grafton got a smaller piece than a lot of other towns, so we were certainly able to spend it, and based on that survey, we did, we really listened to what the people wanted and were able to try to break it up as much as possible to give parks, public safety, and the one big thing was that people did have that we hadn't addressed was mental health, and we really did want to do something, at least something. But and mental health, right, looks different for some people. Like it could just be great to go do yoga, for somebody's, versus a full. So we're trying.
What about, have they talked about like bringing speakers into the schools or
Yeah,
anything?
we were
That's kind
trying
of
to
short
keep
money.
it not just out of the town and school partnership. So yeah, we could bring speakers in and open it up. Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the things. But still good. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Any other member reports? Amy?
It's not really a member report, but I did want to bring everybody's attention to the fact that Tuesday at 7, so the 20th, there is a public hearing about that Millbury sidewalk project. It is on the town Facebook page. It will be online, so you don't have to go anywhere. And since we're not meeting, I'll be watching that with great interest to see kind of what the project looks like. I've heard rumblings, people aren't happy with how far the sidewalk will go on this side or that side, but I don't know what the project actually is, so I want to see like where they're putting the sidewalks in. So anybody who's interested in that, Tuesday the 20th at 7 p.m., it's online on the town Facebook. CIPC did not meet over the summer, but we'll be ramping up soon, so once we have the Capital Summit.
All right. Yeah, I think TRICOM are meeting soon, but I don't know when. Have you heard?
I asked Colleen, she said she was waiting to let us know,
Oh, okay.
because I also
Soon.
was wondering. about
Yeah, we talked about end of August, early
And I was
September,
like,
and that
when did I
has
miss
come
the
and
email?
gone. Yeah. All right, anything else? All right, I don't think we have any correspondence to speak of. We do need executive session tonight.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
move to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. Ooh, this is not the right. I guess, according to GLC 30A 21, to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. There we go.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? This will be by roll call vote. Laura Often,
Aye.
Leora Brom,
Aye.
Graciela,
Hi.
Amy Marr,
Aye.
and I. All right. Oh, so we are adjourning the public meeting, and we will be back in session just for the purpose of adjournment.